TV News, expanding your view.
Thanks for joining us again. The National Assembly drama as lawmakers turn acrobat yesterday. I'm joined now by political affairs analyst Bola Oba. Thank you very much for finding time to join us again today, Bola. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
What do you make up of all of this? You saw the news, you've seen the news, you saw the pictures, you've heard the analysis. Yesterday, police barricading the entrance of lawmakers into the complex of the National Assembly. And then you saw people flying around, scaling fences, tear gassing everywhere. What exactly came to your mind first when you heard of this news?
Somewhat disturbing. It's not an unusual phenomenon if you look at most parliaments where partisanship has taken precedence all over the world. I guess you must have seen pictures of the South Korean parliament where people were literally boxing. Once the Japanese parliament.
That's right.
A number of European parliaments I've seen before in the past. But this is very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate because this democratic dispensation is so young and so inchoate. And some of our players may be playing, maybe actually tempting fate. Some of the conducts we are seeing. The two parties have now defined themselves to be irresponsible. The two parties, the two major parties, the two major de facto parties in Nigeria, and I'm repeating this, with a degree of circumspection. The major characters in the field of play too have actually defined themselves to be somewhat, maybe the Constitution is written for a better species of humanity, intellectual humanity, than them. The presidency is not being helped at this juncture. And it is even more disturbing to know that the chief of police that we have now may go on record in this country to be one of the most partisan and one of the most non-professional.
But before we get to the role of the police in all of this, the clip showing now shows lawmakers scaling the fence. What do you make of that? Many have asked if that act in itself is breaking any law. Is there any moral justification as leaders and role models to younger Nigerians?
You may say it is not quite edifying a sight to behold. You may say it is not quite consistent with the image and the impression any normal human being should have about this level of office holders, but the madness was brought about by another madness.
Okay.
And I think at this juncture it behoves us to be very chronological, quite chronological and very methodical in the way we analyze this.
Okay.
Section 68, Section 68 1G of the Nigerian Constitution states that if a member of any of the two chambers of the National Assembly, that is the House of Representatives being the lower house and the Senate being the upper chamber,
Okay.
if any member elected by any party were to voluntarily or unilaterally decide to change from the party from which he was elected into the House to another party, and there is no merger between the party via which he was elected into the chamber
Okay.
with the new party that is going to, or there is no faction in his party, if he effects a voluntary unilateral change of status, he should vacate his seat. I tried my best possible on a number of occasions to give that section to even SS2 students, and the interpretation is clear enough.
We might want to go back there, Bola, but
No, I'm building. We have to. If you see, the irony of what is happening now is that if one does not build a chronological analysis of the circumstance of the morass we are in now, you may even be perceived to be partisan.
That's right.
So that is why one has to be very methodical. And now we have gotten this far on this alleyway of madness.
Okay.
The speaker unilaterally decided to change his party. He changed from the People's Democratic Party to the APC, but he forgot or deliberately refused to relinquish his speakership and also vacate his seat.
What I'm saying is that this interpretation is already in court, and there are two interesting things that happened in the court of, in the course of all of this. The court already asked all parties to maintain status quo. Amazingly,
now, you are coming to the stage I want to get to now.
Okay.
You know, and you are doing your job. Now, when that happened, ordinarily, what ought to have been done in the first instance was for the chief law officer of the executive arm of government, that is the Attorney General, to have approached a court of law and seek interpretation of that section of the Constitution.
okay.
Unfortunately, the executive arm of government took the law, interpreting the law into their own hands. The Inspector General of Police, the then acting Inspector General of Police, end his substantive office by actually breaking the law. He removed the security operatives around the speaker. And they said, the executive arm said they believed that the section was literally clear enough for them to interpret and execute. Now, the house was supposedly on break. We have known since then that although they have approached the court, but we have known that if it was not for the unfortunate developments that happened during the world congresses of the PDP, the PDP and the presidency may have actually gotten the house to sit, irrespective of the fact that the speaker had declared the break till December
The third.
the 3rd. But unfortunately, the PDP too has a number of untoward developments within their own rank, and a number of their members of the National Assembly are disgruntled with the party establishment and the presidency. So they couldn't get that. Now, we came to a juncture where the emergency, the legislation, the parliamentary backing for the emergency rule in Northeast, the 3 northeastern states of Nigeria needed to be renewed. So the president officially wrote to the National Assembly through the chairman of the National Assembly being the president of the Senate.
Okay.
We must accentuate, because we are basically teaching constitutional law now to your viewers. I'm telling you, this is no joke. I get funny sometimes. The 2 chambers of the National Assembly are separate and equal.
Okay.
Most of us who are analysts tend to say the senior
higher.
chamber and the lower chamber. The truth is that in England, where I cut my teeth politically, they don't call their names. They don't call. If you are a member of the lower house in England, if you want to refer to the House of Lords, you will not mention it by name. You will say the other house. If they want to mention the lower house in the House of Lords, they will say the other house. And you know what? I've never in my life, except when the Queen wants to give an annual speech in England, I've never seen members of the two houses even going to each other's chamber. It's almost. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
When the president wrote to the chairman of the National Assembly seeking renewal in this thing, the upper chamber alone could not have renewed the emergency rule. That's
right.
So the members of the House of Reps who were supposedly on break decided within their own rank to go to the House and treat the request of the president.
That's right.
Somebody, according to the police authorities, somebody must have. They said somebody intimated them that a group of hoodlums
and thugs
were
going to invade the National Assembly complex.
You kept a straight face when you were saying that. I was just wondering why you suddenly kept a straight face. When ordinarily we were having a conversation, that they were informed that thugs and hoodlums were going to be invading the National Assembly complex. And when the thugs arrived, quote unquote, the thugs were so technologically savvy, they wore the faces of not only the speaker and some prominent members of the House of Representatives. And our policemen who were brought from Mars, our policemen who were brought from Mongolia could not recognize the faces of the speaker and the other members of the House of Representatives. The best thing they could do in that instance was not only to shut the gate, but also to tear gas them. But thank God for people who did their NYSC. Thank God for people who did not forget not to go for their NYSC PE session. So gates were being jumped and scaled.
If you were in the shoes of those lawmakers, would you have jumped the gate as well?
Where I'm seated now, I probably would have joined them. I'm not saying it's right, but you know, it gets to a point in life where you would think, you know what, if the people who ordinarily should do right want to use the machinery of state to intimidate us, let us also tell them that we are so defiant that we can reduce whatever they want to do to nothingness. And that was what those guys achieved yesterday.
Quite a number of things happened too that also caught the attention of many quite observant Nigerians. The fact that the Senate president also, for the first time, if I'm right, also came to the floor of the House of Reps.
Of the House of Reps.
House of Reps. And now, there are certain twists to that story. Number one is, if members of the House of Reps could not gain entrance because police sieged, the entrance, how did the senator or the Senate president access that gate? Because it came in unhindered. And then his presence at the House of Reps also raised certain reactions. There was one of the members that was asking, what is he doing here?
It is a
was he invited?
Because it is a constitutional travesty. You guys may not know. It does seem to be just a comical slapstick TV production to an average person watching. But a number of constitutional travesties occurred yesterday. One was the invasion of the territory of the legislature by an arm of the executive.
Okay.
You may not know, my brother, the National Assembly by law, following constitutional conventions world over, the National Assembly has its own police.
I see.
You must have heard of an officer of the National Assembly called the Sergeant at Arms. They have their own, within the system, policing infrastructure. You may not know, it's not as ostensible as the normal police. So, the normal police, which is controlled by the executive arm of government, now had the temerity to disrespect constitutional conventions and other, and they went to block the entrance of the National Assembly through which members of the House of Representatives, respectable members of the legislature, would gain access to do their job. That was number one. That was a major travesty. They had the temerity also to tear gas them. Those guys defied the circumstance they were set in and went into the chamber and held their session. Whilst they were in the chamber, the chairman of the National Assembly, who ordinarily is a peculiar tradition in Nigeria, who ordinarily is the most senior public officer in the legislative arm of government, maybe had the commotion or the cacophony that was going on, and he also, with some of his colleagues.
Possibly came to show solidarity.
It could have been solidarity.
Because we saw him in that clips where he ushered the Speaker of the House of Reps out. Possibly just want to safeguard his... it
could be much trying to maintain law and order. But indeed, the President of the Senate and members of the Senate walking into the chamber of the House of Representatives uninvited is a constitutional travesty.
I see. Well, before we get there, let's look at the reasons given now by the police authorities. Now, they said that they invaded the National Assembly yesterday based on...
Did they say invade?
Exactly. Well, that's a newspaper language, but don't let us focus on that verb now. But they were present at the National Assembly yesterday based on intelligence report of a likely invasion by thugs and hoodlums. But they didn't stop there. The statement continued to say that the Speaker of the House, Aminu Waziri Tambuwa, CFR, arrived at the venue with a crowd that broke the condom and, of course, that tampered with the serenity there. They didn't stop there. They said this crowd assaulted the police and evaded due process, and the police had the duty to restore order.
Let's take it one by one. Because the Nigerian police, God bless them, they do a lot to protect our lives. And that is why when, somebody like me, because of the circumstance that we have reduced the men of our police service, of our police force, somebody like me keeps some 200 naira change and whatever in the vehicle with a view to that is the level to which we have reduced people who protect us. But let's be very methodical in our analysis of what you have just stated now. The Nigerian police said they were informed. They had intelligence report that thugs and hoodlums were going to invade the National Assembly. And to the best of my understanding, where I'm seated now, the most senior officer of the National Assembly is the President of the Senate. Were they gracious enough to intimate the President of the Senate that, sir, we've been informed by some of our intelligence assets that some thugs may be invading the National Assembly? So, sir, we really want to tell you and members of the upper chamber, and indeed, please kindly help us tell the speaker and the members of the lower chamber
Okay.
that that premise or the premises of the National Assembly should be locked up to forestall any disorder yesterday.
Okay.
Did they do that? If they didn't do that, then the story is getting K-leg. Number one. Number two, let's say the president of the Senate is so uppity, so high up there, nobody could easily approach him.
That's right.
The somebody in the place forgot that there is a sergeant of arms.
Just a minute, Bola. Well, let's quickly take a legal perspective to all of this. We're joined now on telephone by legal practitioner Festus Kayamo. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Call Digest today.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for calling me.
All right, let's get some legal perception of all of this. How would you describe the position of the police yesterday hindering the entrance of lawmakers into the National Assembly?
What we witnessed was a complete eyesore to democracy. It was a very unfortunate event, an ill-advised action by the police, and something tells me that the new Inspector General of Police is very anxious to please the ruling party at all costs. And something also tells me that he was specifically brought in as the Federal Police to execute a particular plan in the run-up to the 2015 elections, because the way he has gone about his office and his assignments is extremely frightening. He has thrown reason overboard, and he has considered himself in this situation, in this particular case, to the judiciary. He interprets the Constitution and executes it all at once. The problem is that no matter how clear the provision of a law is, like they are saying that it is very clear that someone ought to vacate his seat, no matter how clear the provision of a law is, there is a judicial, or there is an institution, which is the judiciary, that is saddled with the responsibility of interpreting the law. So it is not possible for you, for the executive of government, to interpret the law and execute it all at once. I mean, look at the clear provision regarding the case of murder. If someone murders someone, the punishment is death penalty.
Okay.
So supposing in broad daylight somebody kills another person in the presence, in the full view of the public, the law is very clear and the evidence is clear that he killed somebody, he has just murdered somebody. But does that give the public the right to now take that person to somewhere, try him summarily and execute him? Because the law is clear that the punishment will eventually be death for that person.
Barrister, just before you go on,
Go through a process.
it's all right.
The person must go through a process.
Barrister, just before you go on, the position of the police this morning is that their action yesterday was based on an intelligence report of a possible invasion by hoodlums and thugs. And they actually said that the speaker arrived at the complex yesterday with a crowd that assaulted the police and evaded due process. And of course, the police had the duty to restore order.
If you have that intelligence report, the police is supposed to be working hand in hand with the legislature. Why not simply put a call to the speaker, put a call to the Senate, and have a meeting with them a day before the time, telling them the procedure by which they will be allowed into the chamber so that they can have the sitting of the National Assembly. Why did the police simply hold a meeting with the leadership of National Assembly once the public intelligence report the night before this shameful act? Why did they? I mean, this type of excuses we get gives the impression that we are idiots, that they are talking to idiots.
It's all right.
And then it is very wrong for the police to wake up and to think that we are just small babies that they are talking to. Whereas we know, of course, that the whole purpose was to prevent the speaker from entering into the house.
Okay.
This was the same police that will do his security. This was the same police that interpreted the law that he has not in it. This was the same police that came to barricade the gates of the National Assembly. So what are they talking? It is cock and bull.
It's all right, Barrister. There was also another uproar with the presence of the Senate President at the floor of the House of Reps. What's the position of the law as regards that?
Well, the Senate President is the head of the National Assembly as a whole, the head of the third arm of government by law, and but actually he presides over the Senate.
Okay.
So, for the sake of peace and harmony, for the sake of good order, because what happened yesterday was clearly the case of breaking of law and order. So long as they took that action in good faith, I see it from that angle. I don't see it from the political angle. I think from the angle that it is in good faith, and I saw he didn't want the breakdown of law and order in the house.
Okay. The position of the House of Reps now is that they have rejected the proposed extension of the emergency rule, but they sat after the Senate President had already shut down the National Assembly to reconvene on Tuesday. Does that in any way...
The shutdown does not affect that resolution, because actually the shutdown, it does not have powers. That's why I said it's just we should see it in the light that it's somebody who wanted to create peace. But it is not a legal shutdown that nothing can happen.
Okay.
Because he does not preside over the House of Reps. He cannot order them not to sit. It's not possible.
It's all right. Thank you for joining us. Just hang on the phone. We're going to get back to you as when we start our discussion on the Ekiti State House of Assembly crisis.
Thank you for calling me.
Yeah, we'll get back to you shortly. Thank you very much for joining us, Festus Kayamo, constitutional lawyer. We'll open the phone lines now for you to participate. Emotions flare yesterday. Tempers rose. And as we open the phone lines now, we expect to see Nigerians prove that they are not, that they can manage their tempers and emotions, unlike what we saw yesterday.
As well as they manage it on the roads of Lagos and on the roads of Abuja, and as well as they manage it at the airport when we're about catching a flight. You know, we catch a flight like we're catching a motorway, and these ones came from Mars and from Venus. They are acting differently from Nigerians.
Gulliver, here you are again. But wait,
you are the phenomenal. You are the phenomenal. I'm not the phenomenal.
We will appreciate that callers to be very objective. And Mr. President talked yesterday about treasonable utterances, and this is a national platform. We would not condone any utterances that would affect the peace or one way or the other put Nigerians further apart. We appreciate you. Make your contributions concise. You have just 1 minute to do that. As soon as your call is acknowledged, please go ahead with your contribution.
You want to repeat that? As soon as the call is acknowledged. And those who are interfacing between the studio and the distance should tell them how to synchronize the
chairman of broadcasting.
Please
turn down the volume of your TV set when you're calling. We have Tochukwu already on the line. Good morning. How are you today? Tochukwu, are you there? Okay. While we wait for that call to connect, now working together. Of course, we'll get to Ekiti later.
I think you have online.
Okay, yes, we'll join him shortly to have his opinion as well.
I'm more learned than I am.
Oh, come on.
Barrister Agbaje is learned and I'm educated.
I see.
So you may need the opinion of somebody who is learned before you take the opinion of somebody who is ordinarily educated.
But then what way forward at this very crucial time?
We have a general disrespect for our constitution now, but unfortunately, where I'm seated now, across the board.
Let me hold you for a minute. I beg your pardon. Good morning, Tochukwu. Go ahead with a contribution, please.
Okay. I was trying to say that I want to disagree with your guest on the number of issues. When he talked about the police not having the right to barricade the National Assembly, I beg to differ. I want to remind him the constitutional responsibility of the police. And not just the National Assembly, the police, I think, has the right to even go to Aso Rock and barricade it if they have intelligence reports. that the lives of Nigerians could be in danger. But that is that on that issue. There are a number of issues that this situation has. But I think that Nigerians generally we have trust issues. We have trust issues because in every story there are three sides to the story, and that is the story the party A wants you to believe, and the story the party B wants you to believe. The real truth and the real story is what nobody is telling us, and that is what I expect the media houses to go and find out what is happening. Let us examine this issue critically. Certainly, we have been rubber stamped to believe a particular report. We have made up our mind to believe a particular report from a particular group. Aside that, we should know that the police has given a statement to that effect. And if you see what happened, there are graphical display and the pictures to that effect, and they don't tell lies. The speaker came in with a crowd, and ordinary sense will tell us that the speaker was being suspicious of the police. That is the issue in this country. We don't trust the army, we don't trust the police, we don't trust the ruling class, even the ruling police, we don't trust the opposition. Nobody trusts each other in this country. And that is the problem. If the speaker had walked in quietly the way others came in, I think it should have, that means it should have been allowed. And this issue wouldn't have gotten to this extent. In conclusion, let me say this. I have a dream and I see a situation where in this country, the time will go, we will be begging people to come and occupy political position and they will say no. We will beg people to come and become governor and they will say no. We will beg people to become chairman of the government and they will say no. We will beg people to become president, they will say no. Because of this development. And I pray to be alive when that time comes. Because it's getting too much. We are tired of it, we Nigerians. Thank you very
from
much.
Anambra. Thank you very much for your contribution. We really appreciate you. Yes, very briefly.
Can I respond to Tochukwu?
Yes.
I pray that Nigeria will have people who will look power in the face and tell them the truth, and not because of their political coloration or political disposition be justifying madness. What happened yesterday, the police invading the premises of the National Assembly, is a travesty, is a constitutional travesty. And the developments we're seeing in the polity now, where the executive sees itself or carries itself to be a super arm of the three-arm framework, constitutional framework we have, is an absurdity. We just saw recently a court was invaded. Whilst that court was sitting, it was a major constitutional travesty. When legislators are coming to where, even in ancient England, people like Tochukwu may not know the history of the legislature, but they need to be taught some lessons in constitutional development. Tochukwu should go now and pick his phone or go to his online and Google constitutional development. Legislators as far back as the 13th century have been defying the power of kings. That was why we got the Magna Carta. People telling somebody who thinks he is all powerful and is God on earth that, you know what, stay action. We human beings, without our consent, even the ordination of God on your head you will not have space. So if Tochukwu wants to make it partisan, he could justify the police going to Aso, but we have not seen the police going to the Aso.
Laide's call from Ilori. Laide, good morning. Go ahead with your contribution.
It's my pleasure to join the discussion.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Laide, go ahead. We're with you.
Yes, it's my pleasure to join the discussion. I've listened to quite a number of opinions on the matter being discussed. And I'd just like to contribute that what happened yesterday is actually a coup against the legislative arm of government. And it is very unfortunate. It is unfortunate. It is despicable. It is sad that such a thing can be happening in this day and age. Our political actors have to get their act right. There are matters of urgent national importance, and we're having this. People should try and be responsible and make the best use of taxpayers' money that is being used to pay their salary. Across the board, I'm not talking of only the legislators, I'm talking across the board, executive, everybody. And we have to make up our minds to make progress in this country if we want to be among the nations, civilized nations of the world in a short while, as we are hoping. Thank you very much.
Good to have your contribution, Lide.
And when I get a contributor like Lide too, what I say is this. If the Speaker of the House of Assembly had done the right thing when he changed party by relinquishing his speakership, even still holding on to the absurdity of vacating his seat, this wouldn't have happened. So let's be very honest with ourselves. Some people will call and be pretending that they are intellectually fair, but the two parties have disappointed us, and the major characters in the party, are punching below their intellectual best. I'm telling you, as a Nigerian who had seen it in some other jurisdictions, and who had partaken in politics in some other jurisdictions, they are all failing us.
Yesterday also, another amazing story that broke is that 130, Nation posted at 130, Punch says is 113 lawmakers put name and pen to paper and signed as regards the impeachment of Mr. President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Has it gotten to that point?
You see, this is why the advisors of this president, I have a friend who is an advisor to the president, Adebi, and I was exchanging Facebook communication with him a couple of days ago. It couldn't have been more than 2 weeks. And I said, you know what? That was about the time when Tambuwa made the change. Okay. And they said, you see, what they were doing to Tambuwa was right. And I said, you know what? Tambuwa ought to have relinquished his speakership. Tambuwa ought to have vacated his seat.
Please hold your total minutes. Let's take this call from Kano. Good morning, Ismaila.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Hello? Good morning. Good morning. May God bless you, my big uncle. Your comments, you only say the truth, the good side and the bad side. May God continue to guide you and protect you. You know the problem with us in Nigeria. One problem we only have is our government. We don't have leaders. We only have looters. We don't have leaders. They are after their pocket. What happened yesterday is very bad. Very, very bad. No matter what, the number 4 citizen of Nigeria, he has his rights. And the police must not behave like this. You see, they are behaving to the rest. What of the ordinary people? Yeah? So that's the problem. We in Nigeria, we have a lot of problems. And may God help us. And my big uncle, may God bless you. Because you always say the truth when I listen to your comments. May God continue to guide you and protect you. You have a good charisma of a leader. And may God take you to places. That's my contribution. Thanks.
For president or for senator again. But then do you think that the lawmakers took it to another level when they started signing as regards Mr. President's impeachment?
I was just about addressing that issue. Look, in the emotions of the moment, I'm not particularly surprised that they penned their name for the impeachment of the president. But to be honest with you, these two will calm down. They had to do that to show the president that in the constitution that gives him the power as the strategic head of the executive arm of government, in that constitution too, they have a power to bring him to a position of sobriety and circumspection. And if I were to swap places with them, I probably would have joined them. But you see, we must put this one must be very, very panoramic when you are analyzing the issues that are taking place. We got to this morass because somebody, either out of greed or out of stubbornness or out of sheer constitutional adventurism, wanting to test the integrity of the constitution, got us to this juncture. And that person, for me, where I'm seated now, Bolaba, the chief culprit, prior to yesterday, was the speaker, but since the speaker changed party, the executive arm of government has been conducting itself in a manner very inconsistent with what is expected of them in the constitution.
Okay, one more call. Solomon calling from Oshogbo. Please go ahead with the contribution.
Hello.
Go ahead, Solomon. We're with you.
Well, I want to appreciate Core TV. Okay, I said I want to appreciate Core TV for the program they are airing.
Thank you.
And I want to say that my contribution actually is that, first of all, my contribution is that.
Go ahead, Solomon. You don't have to.
I
Just go ahead.
This nation will not be taken back to the era of military ruling this nation. The reason is because of our leaders. The way our leaders are conducting themselves, I just pray that they will not invite the military to return back. That is one. Secondly, is that I just hope presidency will stop the impunity they are exercising, because they must allow other arms of the government to move on and do their job. They should stop harassing other arms of government. I hope Mr. President will have a retreat and call all the people surrounding him and caution them. If they don't lead by examples, others will not follow them. When they continue to act the way and manner they are acting, others and even the opposition will not fall into line. So they must stop so that others too can follow the right path. The Lord will help us.
Thank you very much, Solomon. I really appreciate our callers today, but I think that they are really quite objective in their contributions. And
they have to be balanced.
Appreciate
look
that.
at the last caller. He's made a very fantastic point. And that point is that, that we hope that the exuberances of the members of the political class will not invite the military again.
Right.
You see, there used to be a time in this country when civilian government will be toppled and people will be jubilating on the streets. Why were people jubilating? Because the political actors then are disappointed the people. People like myself know that the military is not the answer. A military purge is not the answer to the problem we have now. But it's about time too that members of our political class grew up fast.
Right.
We need them to be matured.
The bills bring the meal. We have to take a commercial break now of the show. When we come back, we'll be going to Ekiti. Amazingly, quite a number of things happened yesterday. 57th birthday for Mr. President.
You don't have to link the two. The two are different. 57th birthday of Mr. President was 57th birthday of Mr. President. The incongruities that happened at the National Assembly and Ekiti, they are not.
You
connected.
agree with that? It wasn't really a good birthday gift for Mr. President yesterday.
The man must have had a successful and loving birthday from his wife, members of his family, and Nigerians like myself who wished him well. The two are separate.
Well, we come back, we'll go to Ekiti. But yesterday, Mr. President clocked 57. We already talked about the disaster.
Nigerians can say belated birthday to him.
At the National Assembly. And when we come back after this commercial break, we'll be going to Ekiti. Amazing developments there yesterday. Stick around, don't go away.
Has it been a difficult task for you to purchase exquisite, classic, durable and sturdy furniture that will last the test of time? Here is good news for you. Purchase high-quality furniture for your household, offices, hotels and schools at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Office address, Goshen Plaza, Showroom 28, Kubo Furniture Market, AYA, Nyanya Road, Abuja. Telephone 0803 119 1444 or 09291 7482. Email princeemeka240@yahoo.com. info@princeinterior.com. Website www.princeinterior.com. Purchase your furniture at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Classic, strong, exquisite.
Welcome back. All right, you know what to do if you need your goods and services and your advertorial to be on the face of the country. Call Digest is the show to be. You get the numbers to contact us scrolling on your screen. All right, let's go to Ekiti. The crisis rocking the Ekiti State House of Assembly has gone to another dimension. Of course, you heard earlier in the week when about 7 members of the House sat and placed the verdict on commissioner nominees, of course, chairman of caretaker committees in 16 local government areas of the state. But it has gone beyond that. Just yesterday, the PDP caucus of the House also met, and this time around, they announced the impeachment of the Speaker of the House, Adewale Omiri, and replaced him with Dele Olugbemi. And the PDP lawmakers also sacked all other principal officers in that house, and this is coming even as the streets of Ekiti was greeted with protest in the early hours of yesterday. Quite a number of people trooped out, showing brandishing, what do we call it now, placards and all of that, and it was really a hectic day. But we're going to start with the position of the Ekiti State Governor in all of this, because it's been quite silent for a while, but we were able to speak with him yesterday, and this is his initial reaction to the appointment of a new speaker.
The government has congratulated the new speaker, and we are prepared to work with him. So I advise his colleagues on exile in Lagos to come back home and work. They were elected here. I don't know how they got into Lagos. I am confirming this change. I have been briefed, and the new speaker, we are prepared to work with, without apologies. The government has congratulated the new speaker, and we are prepared to work with him. So I advise his colleagues on exile in Lagos to come back home and work. They were elected here. I don't know how they got into Lagos. I am confirming this change. I have been briefed, and the new speaker, we are prepared to work with, without apologies.
Okay, the question is, can 7 members of the House impeach a speaker? Do they even form quorum? We will be joined by legal practitioners later on in the course of the show to find out that. But there are also other issues of corruption within the House, and we were able to ask Mr. Governor about all of this, and he talked about certain members of the House asking for bribes and all of that. That sounded the end there. Let's take the other side of our interview with the Governor of Ekiti State.
I want to take loan of about 2 billion from CBN, this for SME and all. And you're asking for 10% of it. Where will I find that from? I'm not giving anybody a dime. I'm not giving anybody a dime. If they are popular, what are they doing in Lagos? If they are popular, if they are on ground, those people pushing them was disgraced out of office here by Ekiti people. If they could not keep themselves in office, it is the House of Assembly that will keep them. They should be reminded, I am governor of Ekiti, I'm here. Ekiti Affairs remains Ekiti Affairs. So, I am telling them very expressly, I will resist any attempt to hold us to ransom in this state. That won't work.
Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayosh is speaking tough there when we met with him yesterday. Now, what's the position of the other 19 APC lawmakers? They were in Lagos yesterday. We even scheduled them to join us this morning, but they just told us that they won't be able to come because of emergency. We hope to also reach out to them in the course of the show. We'll attempt to call them if we can get their reactions to some of these emergency stories. But we met with all of them yesterday, the speaker, the deputy speaker, and the rest of them. And this is their own reaction to this particular situation.
Well, my attention has just been drawn to the breaking news coming from Ekiti State by the special advisor on misinformation and blackmails, Dere Olayinka, that Olugwemi is now the speaker and Abenolayinka.
Rishalade Adetunji Taiwo still remains the deputy speaker, having been appointed unanimously on the 6th of June 2011 by all members present, sitting and voting. No sitting of the House can be summoned, like I said earlier, by anybody except the Right Honorable Speaker.
For 3.5 years, we worked with Dr. John Kayode Fayemi to pass bills into laws that places man at the center of development. And over 50 bills, 71 bills. And as I'm speaking with you, history is there to actually bear us out that never for a day did we demand a kobo from that particular governor. We are not planning any impeachment, but we need to say this. If we are going to impeach Fayose, he's not going to be impeached by our own activities. Fayose will be impeached by his own activities.
All right, welcome back. And I'm afraid we caught that sound somewhere. There was a particular point where that member of the House actually said that they heard the governor say, if about 3 or 4 of them are killed, then they will come down to their senses. I would want us to play that report. If we can't get it in this sound, just get that particular report and let's hear that particular sound, because that is also of importance, and we'll give you that sound subsequently in the course of the show. Now, I would have asked you, Golaoba, what your first reaction to all of this is, but I asked you that one earlier. This is Ekiti State, known as the land of honor. Okay. And all of this is just happening few months into a new administration. Okay. It's a 4-year race. What do you make of all of this at this time?
The parties are again, the 2 major parties are again failing us here. My take. Whatever anybody thinks of Fayose, Fayose won a popular election and he won it with a landslide.
Okay.
As we speak now, the Congress, that is the legislative arm of the American government, is predominantly dominated by the Republican Party, a party that is not the party of the sitting president.
Okay.
But I don't think they will get to the point where the house will not be allowed. You see, the major institution of state that has been stigmatized here again is the police. But let's be very honest with ourselves. APC also asked for it. When Fayemi lost the election, he looked straight into a camera and he read a concessionary speech.
Okay.
He considered the fact that the electorate of Ekiti are choosing sovereignly to appoint Fayose.
He said, if this be the will of the people,
my brother, and that was
so
that was the will. You see, the electoral process may not be perfect, that culminated in the election of Fayose, but the ballot was fair.
Okay.
I'm a Nigerian and I watch and I study the news. The electoral process may not be said to be fair because people were intimidated. Instrumentations of coercion were used against people in parties not controlled by the party that has the control of the police. And we have seen the police now to be a totally partisan. At least, if in the past the police was being sneaky or a bit coy about it. Okay. At last now we know we have an Inspector General of Police who is a member of the PDP.
Okay.
He's an acting officer of the PDP. But you know what?
How do you get to confirm that?
From what happened yesterday at the National Assembly and what happened...
He has been quoting the Constitution to back himself up.
My brother, Constitution was that they got intelligence that folks were going to invade the National Assembly, and somebody in the police forgot to tell the chieftains of the National Assembly, and they took it upon themselves to be selecting who was going to be allowed access into the National Assembly or not. But you see, that is another story for another day. Let's take the Ekiti issue. Fayose won square and neat. I don't care whatever anybody said. Fayemi, I know Fayemi personally, and I know Fayose personally. In fact, looking at Fayose, I was shaking my head. I was traveling to Abuja a couple of days ago on Monday. Today's Friday. I was flying to Abuja on Monday, and at the airport, at the lounge of the MMA tour, I ran into a mutual friend of Fayose and myself, who is still in Fayose, who is still in good touch with Fayose because he's still a politician. I used to be a journalist covering politics, and Fayose, I am on record in Nigeria. I am on record. When Fayose was impeached as the governor of Ekiti, go and look the press release that was released then by the EFCC against Fayose. My name was there. The Fayose was paying me 18,000 British pounds every month. Although I was actually collecting 6,000 British pounds for him every month, but my name was there, listed. Bola Oba, Ben TV UK. Fayose was claiming to be paying me 18.
Let me just hold you for a while. Please just hold your thought. We're joined again by Festus Keyamo, a constitutional lawyer. Thank you for joining us again on Call Digest.
Thank you very much.
We want to quickly have your legal opinion as regards developments in Ekiti. 7 PDP lawmakers met yesterday to impeach not only the Speaker, but also sacked all other principal officers of the House. How do you interpret the law as regards all of this?
Well, you see, what happened in Ekiti State is actually a non-event. It's what we should not even be talking about. And I want to appeal to the press. I want to appeal to Nigerians and appeal to everybody that this is a collective effort we should make to make sure that this type of things do not continue in our country. So you should not even start referring to anybody as a factional speaker. And it is the press I will appeal to first, because what happened is that in law, nothing has happened. Because several cannot sit, not even to talk of the speech. Several cannot even form the body to even say, to start with, not to talk of impeaching somebody. Several officers have no constitutional, quorum to sit. So, but the problem with the press is that it is the press that will not blow this out of proportion. They will not start calling somebody a factional speaker, calling the other person a factional speaker. I'm appealing to you not to even recognize what has happened at all. It is an eyesore of democracy. What has happened is unfortunate. And I don't have anything particular against Fayose. Okay. I don't have anything, because he was moved the first time of it's what we all felt bad about. The concern is that he was removed. Now he should not give the same medicine to other people. I'm appealing directly to Fayose. When they say a leopard cannot change his skin, it should be the one to first prove to people that at least a leopard can change his skin. So please, we should, for the sake of God, toe the line of the rule of law. Every Nigerian was angry when he was first removed from office. Everybody. But what he's doing now is a repeat of what they did to him, he's doing to somebody else. We should not try it.
But let us also quickly consider the allegations that were made against these people. There are about 6 or 7 of them. Number one is that they have left their duty post, left Ekiti to Lagos, and they've refused to appear at the House of Assembly.
I don't understand. Whether they left their duty post, whether they were killed, all the first thing you do is to even elect somebody, to declare their seats vacant, and then elect people to fill their position, their constituency, so that you can have a quorum. You don't even have a quorum to sit. That's the problem. That's the problem. So what has happened is they can't even sit to discuss whether they they cannot fix.
It's all right. We also saw the role of the people in all of this. There was an earlier, what do you call it now, protest on the streets of the state capital, Ekiti. Do electorate have any legal right to decide who remains or becomes the Speaker of the State House of Assembly?
It is a constitutional infraction. So the Ekiti people as a whole, they have the right, anybody has the right to go to court because it's a constitutional infraction. Anybody can approach the court to rectify this.
You agree with that the challenge we're going to have now is the time lag, because all of these issues will end up with the courts.
Make sure judiciary work. That brings us back to the issue of the judiciary. You know, making sure that we equip the judiciary so that it can do its work. But the problem is that it looks like the elites are the ones benefiting from the tardiness of the judiciary, tardiness of the tardiness of the system benefits the elites more because they take advantage of the system.
It's all right. Thank you very much for your contribution, Festus Kayaba, constitutional lawyer. Thank you for joining us on Cool Digest today. You heard the lawyer, Balaba, who is saying that the media should not even...
Oh, yeah, guys, no, to be honest with you, and I tell you many times, we've had this, you know, in fact, sometimes jocularly on camera and off camera. I have never seen the degree of ignorance that is endemic in journalism practice in Nigeria, in any other jurisdiction. I'm telling you. And he's right. Some people, some media operatives now will be referring to the legal person carrying himself as a speaker in Ekiti, as a factional, as a speaker of a faction of this thing. That's preposterous.
But come to think of it, let me quickly cast your mind back to what happened in Edo State, and which I believe is even still happening, where we have two houses of assembly, one sitting at the Enaoro complex, the other one at the State House. What you eventually find out, Boloba, is that it is the lawmakers that have the backing of the executives that eventually have the say. That resolutions are being passed by the state governor, are being embossed, and all of that. That
is a fact. But that is the tragedy that we have subjected our constitution to now. That is why anybody, I was just about analytically getting to it, but you have actually helped me to it now. I said Fayose was rightfully elected. The electoral process may be dystopic, but the balloting was right. People came out, cast their votes, Fayose emerged the winner. It is even notwithstanding the fact that Fayemi gave a concessionary speech where he conceded to the fact that the Ekiti electorate may have preferred Fayose than him, I personally did not support the APC going to court, but it is within their right. From the moment the APC announced that they were going to challenge Fayose's victory, the typical Fayose, and I know Fayose personally. When I'm talking about Fayose, I'm not talking about a man that, you know, some of these characters I know personally. I know what their personality defines. The Fayose that I knew, and the Fayose that I was expecting to emerge from the Fayose that pretended to be civil for a couple of days, he emerged. And my brother, no, this game. The kind of game they are playing in Ekiti now pays him and pays him well.
Just a minute. Let's take this call from Okechukwu, calling from Anambra. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Okechukwu. Okay. Go ahead.
Please, I want to make a contribution. And my contribution is, I think whoever comes to Ekiti should come with a clean hand. Now, the House of Assembly in Ekiti State, it's claiming by implication that the governor is trying to cause division or suppress them. But I think there is a case of allegation of bribe. I think they should first of all clear their name. I had a report from another media house where a member of that same House of Assembly was alleging that he was part of those who raised the committee to negotiate for a percentage from the governor. I think that is rather unfortunate. You see, we have found ourselves in a situation in this country that leaders are conducting themselves like criminals. Let me paint a picture for you, and this picture will go a long way to answer the question of whether we are cause or we are the cause. Even in the grassroots, you see someone that is perceived to have the interests of the masses at heart. Once he or she gets into power, it's another story altogether. And I think that is quite unfortunate. So please, it is condemnable that someone can impeach the speaker, and it's also condemnable that the House of Assembly will negotiate for percentage. Oh, Lord.
Okay, Chuku.
Oh.
Okay, Chuku. Hello?
I'm afraid that we lost that.
I wanted to exchange kind of banter a little bit with Ogochukwu, but I guess technology, delayed satellite this thing. But the truth is that Okechukwu may know, or he may pretend not to know, all the legislatures in this country. And I'm saying it with a degree of authority because I was into it, and I know all the legislators in this country have a way of demanding either directly bribe or indeed holding the executive to ransom to get some pork. The Americans call it pork barrel.
Okay, Chiku is still on land. Okay, Chiku, are you there? Okay, I'm afraid we lost that. Please go ahead.
The Americans have a phrase for it. They call it pork barrel. When the president wants to have his way, members of the legislature will sit down and say, Mr. President, you really want to tar the road from Lagos to Ibadan? Fantastic. It will give you a lot of glory. But I suddenly remember that my constituency is nowhere near Lagos and Ibadan. My constituency is somewhere in Malumfachi. But Mr. President, we have been looking for this kind of piggery so that our boys can be employed on this thing. The Americans have a phrase for it, pork barrel. If that is what Fayose is calling bribe, and I'm not trying to defend anybody here, then Fayose is clever by half. And Nigerians should see through that cleverness by half. But you know what? Even in Okechukwu State, and even at the National Assembly, even with David Mark, who is known to be a loyal supporter of the president, they all twist his hand sometimes that this is democracy.
But are you saying that indeed is right and the right way to go? But just before that, let's take Abdulaziz call. Good morning, Abdulaziz, calling from Ilorin.
Yeah, good morning.
Welcome to Call Digest.
Yes, I'm calling from Ilorin.
Go ahead with the contribution.
I have to appreciate the anchor program, and I have to appreciate Call TV generally.
Thank you.
Yes, the issues here on ground is that my fear as a Nigerian is that we are overeating the politics. And these are things that causes a lot of commotions in other African countries. The masses are only seeing our leaders as robbers and nothing. My brother, the executive have a way of causing impunity. The judiciary also have their own ways, likewise the legislatures. If the executive are showing their impunity in public, my brother, my fear is that if the legislature also have their ways, they will show it, and the judiciary did that, then Nigeria will be thrown into commotion. So we need to treat easily. These police are normally barricade, there are houses of assemblies, and even the National Assembly. These police are enough to be in Borno, to be in Yobe, to be in other crisis zones, and not causing commotion in places that we need peace. You see, I could see from the screen, the police are telling us lie, and these are blatant lies. They were there in National Assembly yesterday to cause commotion. Even in the presence of David Mark, Minister, who are the honorable members, these police officers were still pushing, messing up our members. My brother, my fear is that if the National Assembly also want to use their own impunity, this country will be thrown into commotion. We need to treat this in. Politics is not affairs. We need to go on the rules of constitutionality. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Some are saying that once beaten, twice shy, because the question was also asked the 19 APC lawmakers if their intention is to impeach Governor Fayose, and you heard one of them said, even if it's going to be impeached, we are not going to do that. Ekiti people are going to do that. I mean, don't you think that Fayose is trying to avoid a reoccurrence of what happened?
Let's be very
before.
honest with ourselves. In Nasarawa, PDP members of the legislature wanted to impeach an APC governor. But because the governor is popular, people took to the streets. What happened? They could not effect it. I would want to believe that it would have been constitutional suicide for the APC members in the Ekiti State House of Assembly to want to impeach Fayose. Fayose knows. But the Fayose I know, and I'm not talking of a man, I don't know you as well as I know Fayose. This is a man I would sit with, pick his brain. Sometimes, look, they are now playing, they have gotten Ekiti to play Fayose's game. This is a man who has no profound respect for constitutionalism, but he would always have his way.
But did he win this game the other time he played it?
What? Oh, because he played it then with a bigger, terrible, quote unquote, a bigger, terrible player like him. Obasanjo, Fayose is a miniaturized version of Obasanjo. He would have his way if he wants it. And the kind of politics that I see being played out in Ekiti now, the only beneficiary is going to be for Fayose. Those guys may end up not stepping in Ekiti until their tenure ends. I'm telling you. Because there are some things we cannot see on TV that will be into play as we speak. There are some things that cannot be said on TV that will be in play now. Okay. And I dare any one of them to go to Ekiti. But you see, that too, it will be a major failure of our constitutional experimentation. And it will be a stigma on this era, like the 8 members you remember in the former Ogun State House of Assembly, like the 8 members who took over the control of the house and gave Benga Daniel for almost 1.5 years, gave Benga Daniel a free ride to control this thing.
Okay.
You see, the police always taking side with the executive is helping the executive to emasculate the independence of the 2 other main arms of government. It is bad for
Just before we take this call, MCR, can I have the Ekiti confusion as my silent theme? I mean, we're taking this call now. This is John calling from, where's that? Warri. Good morning, John.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. Go ahead with the contribution.
You're doing so well educating us on daily basis. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My contribution is this. I watched the footage of Governor Fayose, and I began to wonder, why will the governor be speaking the way he's speaking? Why will the governor just want a pound of flesh? This is the kind of politics Nigeria should avoid by all means. The governor should call the people together. He should call everybody together and let them be on board so that they can work for the betterment of the state. It's not helping matters. Look at what happened yesterday at the National Assembly. I'm going back to the letter Obasanjo wrote earlier to Mr. President. Why will you use the machinery of the state against another party? Let's work together. This is my contribution.
Thank you very much, John.
Shoot your sword rather, and let's work together. Thank you once again. Thanks for the anchor man there who is speaking the truth. God bless you.
Thank you. You're making my head swell now. We're going to take a very short
No,
break now.
it was using the Akoma, not you. It was using. I mean, if you know,
I am the Akoma. You're not the Akoma.
No, he just, he's not a journalist.
We're going to take a short break now, and we're going to be back with more. Keep the calls coming, and we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, you see at this juncture now, the president got involved. Maybe not openly, but the president should be putting calls through now.
Just a minute, Bola. Let's take a break now, and we'll be back with more. Please stay with us.
From time immemorial, women have birthed life, shaped character, and by extension, influenced the society. Moremi of Ife, Emoten of Benin, Queen Aminat of Zaria, all women of influence and power.
Whether it's before election, after election.
How ironical. Women being so powerful, yet have few grounds in decision making.
They see you as a wife, and I see you as a wife to a man.
We are talking women in politics.
A woman will be bold enough to stand up and say, I want to become president of Nigeria.
Only on Core TV News.